I'm grateful that you're doing this. I think it's important for our community to see what this story is.
For months, we've been investigating one of Oklahoma's most haunting crimes, the Bever family murders. We're the first to go inside prison and sit down with convicted killer Robert Bever. We did so to find answers to questions that have gone unanswered for more than 10 years, including why two teenage brothers turned on their family. We've had discussions in our newsroom on whether or not to even air his words. And as you just heard, the Tulsa County District Attorney says it's important that the community see what the story is. Tonight, for the first time and only on NewsChannel 8, you'll hear part of that exclusive interview. And a warning, this story includes descriptions of graphic violence.
This is my tomb until I get interred somewhere else.
Behind steel doors and concrete walls, Oklahoma State Penitentiary holds the men the state considers too dangerous to ever walk free, including Robert Bever.
This isn't real. There's no way this is real. For a split second, I remembered everything that led up to that point.
At approximately 11:32 p.m., upon arrival of the first officers, they discovered 5 deceased victims. The victims were victims of stab wounds.
Under maximum security, every move he makes is monitored. Inside his cell, Bever passes the time writing, surrounded by only a few reminders of life beyond these walls.
I've written 8 books now. Only one of them got published.
A sci-fi tale about a cult that recruits killers on a planet consumed by terrorism.
The first thing that I started writing about was obviously domestic terrorism. It's like the only thing I know a lot about.
But long before he wrote about violence, Bever carried it out. And that's why we came here, in search of answers to one of Oklahoma's most brutal crimes, a case that even 10 years later still offers few explanations.
These are my crazy tattoos.
His sentence isn't just written in court records, it's inked across the skin of his knuckles. What does this one say?
I got 5 life without parole plus life, which is what my original sentence was, on my knuckles.
How'd you come to terms with the fact that you're never getting out of prison?
I'm doing a service to the world by staying in prison. If I was to get out of prison, I would still have that drive and that want to be successful, wildly successful, because I'm full of myself. And that people would absolutely hate that. They would say, how can you go from doing something like killing your own family to living a life that other people only dream of? I think that if I had had the maturity and the insight and the wisdom that I have now, if I had had that back then, sure, I still would have been a psychopath, but I could have done great things. Now, no.
He calls himself a psychopath, something we can't independently confirm without access to his medical files. During the trial of his brother and co-defendant, Michael Bever, Robert told jurors he'd been diagnosed with multiple mental health disorders and was medicated, unlike at the time of the killings. This is your first on-camera interview.
Me.
Why are you talking now?
When the 10th anniversary came around, I was expecting there to be a lot of publicity about it, as I wanted it to be, I wanted everybody to be thinking about my family. And I didn't really get that from what I saw.
It's making national headlines this morning out of me.
Right now, officers aren't telling us a whole lot about what happened in this neighborhood late last night, but we do know that the 2 teenagers who were arrested in connection to this case are related to the victims. Now, it's hard to see where
he says he wants people to remember his family, but for many Oklahomans, the crime itself is impossible to forget. On July 22, 2015, the 2 teenage brothers killed their parents, April and David, and 3 of their siblings, 12-year-old Daniel, 7-year-old Christopher, and 5-year-old Victoria. Do you have remorse?
I have as much remorse as I'm capable of feeling.
2 sisters survived. One of them was seriously injured.
The most realistic point that it could have stopped was right before I stabbed Crystal, because I kind of broke myself in a way that a human being isn't supposed to. I couldn't do it, and I somehow made myself stab her. I shouldn't have done that, obviously.
In 2015, officers followed Crystal's trail of blood straight to the home, ending the attack and stopping what Michael had told investigators was meant to become a cross-country killing spree.
We wanted to kill everyone at that house first.
Okay.
And then wait for all the packages to show up over the weekend. They would take the economy to Atlanta State with the guns.
The plan was cut short, first by Crystal's escape and then by 12-year-old Daniel's desperate 911 call.
Open Air 911. Hello? My brother's attacking my family.
Killing Daniel is the unforgivable sin.
If he hadn't have called the police, would you have killed him?
No, I don't think so. I mean, that's hard to say, but he had every right to live. He was begging me. That's the only part of that night I'm going to talk about, because I think about it every day. If I'm going to hell because of what I did to him, I understand. He was begging me. He said, "I'm with you. I'll do whatever you want." I still start stabbing him. He was a genius. He liked all the things I did. He liked Star Wars. He liked Ben 10. He liked Legos.
The Bever children were homeschooled, sheltered from much of the outside world, and Robert says from what was happening inside.
Some of the other kids were so innocent that they didn't know what was going on, not just with me, but with our parents.
So you say you weren't allowed to leave the house. What do you mean by that?
They don't like me going anywhere without a good reason. They won't let me get my driver's license. So I was in the house all the time.
I want to go back to your childhood. How was it?
I was traumatized by my parents as a small child. They made no sense to me. And in some ways they still don't. But I don't really want to talk about that.
Is there a reason why you don't want to talk about what happened with your parents?
For my sister's sake, I'm not going to make them ever hear from me that I have a problem with our parents when I took them away from her and I killed her.
Allegations of abuse were raised by the defense during Michael's trial, and from Robert's testimony, the suggestion only deepening the mystery. Surviving sister Crystal testified that their father was emotionally but not physically abusive.
And you couldn't have two more disparate descriptions of what's taken place.
I think it's obvious that's not true. It's hard because they were so isolated. There's not many people that can tell that story.
The story given just hours after the brutal killings gave a glimpse into the rage that had been building.
My parents always beat me until I wished I was dead. But then I had this idea. What if they were dead instead?
Hello? Hi, what's going on there? What's going on there? Hello? Hello?
So was it isolation, abuse, the desire to be famous, or something else? What Robert Bever told me his motivation was in part 2, airing next week. Now, if you or someone you know is struggling, call or text 988. Help is available 24 hours a day.